next, we have a super interesting fireside chat. So the title of the session is How Can InsurTechs Achieve Success? And I think the gentleman on the right there, Angus, has been a massive shining light in the InsurTech industry, from driven from Australia and now like a global success. And I know a lot of the kind of InsurTechs look up to the Cover Genius path and have been following it closely and trying to learn from all of the success and maybe some of the misses. And so really looking forward to this session. And running it is Michelle Levine from Hamilton Locke. Michelle is a partner at Hamilton Locke, and she's a trusted financial services lawyer that acts for clients across the financial services, credit, insurance, fintech, insurtech, payments, and crypto industry. So basically all of fintech. If you want some advice, she's the lady to go to. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, thanks for the plug, Nigel. And it's my absolute pleasure to be hosting the fireside chat with. You want to go with Gus today?
Yeah, let's go with Gus.
Let's go with Gus. Thanks, okay. And so I'm going to ask you some spicy questions. We've got Pitch Live next, and so I thought we should really focus on pitching, particularly pitching sort of two ways: pitching to investors and pitching to like prospective clients. So last year you had Series D. You're 500 plus now. What was key to bringing on investors as part of your journey, both with Series D and the previous series before?
Yeah, and I thought the last panel was great. There was some really great tidbits for startup founders out there as part of that. Our journey was our journey, right? I can only talk about my personal experience a little bit, but I thought, when we first pitched, we were pitching to seed investors, and to June's point, they were like a friend of a friend of a friend, college friend, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that is exactly how you do start. And when you pitch at the beginning, it's all about vision. I like to say it's always all about vision, because no one's going to invest in you unless they actually believe in your vision, that you're going to be able to shape something in the future that you're actually presenting to them. So the first thing about presenting is actually thinking about the vision. And before you start thinking about the vision, you've actually got to think about what you want. Like, a lot of people have had disruptive ideas, and people would say, oh, it's just all vision. Okay, that's fine. That's you make a $1 bet and you might make $1,000 return, that's fine. Other people will have a vision which is, hey, you know what? I really just want to improve earthquake underwriting. That's my vision. And I'm passionate about it. And if you have these different visions, that's going to mean who you need to speak to, who are your partners that you're going to want to bring on. There's a smorgasbord of approaches there. Where our vision at Cover Genius was to be the embedded insurtech for embedded insurance. And so when we started that journey, we were going, okay, well, we didn't actually want to pitch to insurers really, because we were trying to get access to the embedded insurance opportunities. So our big partner, our first partner, which I think we'll talk about later, was Booking.com. But we now work with Amazon, eBay, Wayfair, a whole bunch of airlines. We just this year started working with Uber, Revolut in the banking space. So lots of different partners who have lots of embedded insurance opportunities. So having that clear view of that's who our partners was going to be was really important. And then we wanted to find investors who could actually believe in that vision as well. And of course, then you've got to have business model, you've got to know who your competitors are, what's your market, how are you going to actually proof that market? Like, how do you genuinely say, oh, it's $1 trillion market? Okay, well, how are you then going to address that market? Are you going to do it globally? Are you going to do it regionally, or some sort of part of it? Investors will give you a hard time on every single one of those points. And when you're seed in Series A, they'll pretty much just give you a hard time about your vision and do they think you can execute, and do you understand your unit economics of your business model. If you can answer that, I reckon and you can find someone who believes you, I think you'll get funded. Once you get further down the line, we raised money from Sompo International 2 years ago. That was a very different conversation as a strategic investor than our last raise 12 months ago with Dawn Capital, who are a growth equity investor, a very mature sort of later stage investor for fintech. All of them want to be able to understand that they can work with you. So as founders, they don't want to work with someone who's a pain in the ass. They want you to answer their phone calls. They want you to be a good partner, because everyone in this is trying to work together to achieve the vision that you've presented. And that's the really cool part.
And just maybe we'll just touch a little bit more on that before I go to the next question. Are you seeing what your investors are expecting from you changing as you're sort of developing as a growing, scaling company? And how do you see the balancing of the demands between some of the earlier investors and some of the later investors on your cap table?
Yeah.
Sorry, we've gone a little bit sideways, but I think you raised a really interesting point.
That's actually part of the journey, right? So when the seed and Series A investors, and we had a great seed investor called Jim Sutcliffe, he'd been CEO of Old Mutual in London and the Prudential, and he came on really as a very trusted advisor. He's chairman of our board still, and he's very engaged. And the seed and Series A investors all have a different investment horizon. You know, it'll be our 10-year anniversary at the end of next year, so we're like 9 years in. People want to get a return at some point, and they've ridden an incredible experience. So they will have a different horizon around what we should be doing. And then when you bring on new growth equity investors, they're investing because they see the future. They see the future opportunity. So managing that is a bit of a balancing act, and we've done that by managing secondary sales. So early investors can sell out. Newer investors who want to put more money to work can invest as well. And I'm a big believer in that. Every round we've done has included a secondary sale component.
I mean, you've seen a lot actually with some of the other big unicorns in the Australian market, so that makes complete sense. Pitching to customers, how do you onboard those big ticket customers that are going to change the game for your business, but you're a small team with very few runs on the board? How do you make that happen? What actually convinces them to come use you?
I'm grimacing because I'm like remembering those early days where I'd get, rentalcars.com, or part of booking.com, in Manchester. And not many people in this room probably know there is a direct flight from Dubai to Manchester that connects really seamlessly from Sydney. I know that quite well. But we used to go there like 5-6 times a year. I'm a big believer in FaceTime. I'm also a big believer in those kind of partnerships that you want to actually be going and meeting different people around the business. I know there'll be someone who says, this is my decision, what we do, but I guarantee that if that person says yes and the CTO says no, then you're stuffed. Or if the general counsel says that's illegal, then you're stuffed. If the CFO says they've got no money and they won't be able to pay us, then you're stuffed. So you actually need to work all of those relationships, and that's super time consuming, and they don't want to speak to you, so it's not easy. But I do think you do need to try and at least address those concerns. So if you can't see them, meet someone junior in their team, work out what they're worried about, what would they be looking at, and making sure in your proposal that you're addressing those concerns that might come up. I think when you're small, and when we were small, we kind of really worked on, okay, did we get alignment around what the problem was, and so what the opportunity of the shared partnership was that we were actually addressing? And we got that pretty quickly. Like they had a warranty program, and and their general counsel had fears that it wasn't compliant in some markets. So we were able to address those by moving it to an insurance program. Then they were like, well, we've worked with other big legacy providers before. Why would we work with these guys? So we had to address that kind of thing. So I think working through each of those problems, and I would say, like, even now, when we pitch to a chief product officer, they have completely different KPIs to the chief commercial officer and the general counsel. So work out what they're actually trying to achieve, and then make sure you're pitching about those KPIs or those metrics that the person's after.
And what do you find key to the intelligence gathering? Because finding out what people's KPIs is not interesting, and it's not easy. I know, but yeah. So it's like finding the right person to start the conversation, and then you finding that's key. Like you find an internal champion that sort of gives you the insights, and then building off those relationships and getting more information, and also tailoring your pitch as much as possible.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's finding that first person, then trying to find someone possibly who's at their level. Everyone tries to go to the CFO. I still haven't had a meeting with the CFO of Booking.com. So we've worked with them for 9 years. But
don't break something that's
Yeah,
broken.
don't break myself apart. What we do is we know a lot of the people in the financial ops area and the other parts of the business, and so they are great for intelligence gathering. But these partnerships are really long term, and they are almost perennial. Well, I hope they are perennial. And so getting that alignment early is an investment that I think is absolutely critical.
Sort of coming up to our last question. I don't know how we're doing for time. Here we go. Got 30 seconds. If you had your time again, would there be anything that you do differently? 2020, hindsight, things that you would tell your younger self?
It's really hard to answer that question because I'm a big believer in looking forward, and I don't think you can be a founder of a business unless you're constantly looking forward. Always make it better. Like we have a cultural value in our business about making it better and improvement, the self, but also the business. But also that has to have a lens of forward. Having said that, we made one. I moved to the US in 2016 for about 8-9 months, and we didn't really have enough capital to support that growth initiative at that time, and so we kind of ran out of runway, and I had to come back. And then 12 months later we started in the US again, when we'd actually raised some money to do that. And I think that's a learning, is you can't kind of just will things to happen. You do need to have the capital behind you. You do need to do your business planning, work out what your budgets are for all these things, so that your vision, you can actually make your vision happen. And so I came back, and we've ended up expanding in the US, but it just took us another 2 years to get there.
So timing's critical.
Timing's critical.
Thank you so very much. It's
Thanks,
great
Michelle.
to hear about Cover Genius and all your learnings. Can I have everyone have a round of applause for Gus? Thank you.